digital designers. Today we're going to take After Effects and combine it with some of the work that you guys did in Adobe Illustrator on your sports logo project. This is my sample sports logo from the last time we did this project. And what I want to do is give it some movement. I want to have the circle shape fly in. I want to have Grogu drop down, and then I want to have the text appear out of the middle. And so After Effects is a great program for that because it can let us take our vector art from an Adobe Illustrator project and add that movement in using keyframes. So here's a little bit of prep work that we need to do before we bring this over into After Effects. We want to separate anything that's going to be moving onto its own layer. So over in my layers palette here, I'm going to go ahead and create some layers for the different parts that are going to move around. And let's make those layers first. So I'm going to click this little create new layer button, and I'm going to make one for the word Dagobah. I'm going to create one for the word Grogu's, and I'm going to create one for my mascot. Okay. And I think I'll probably make this bottom one circle. Now let's grab each of these pieces and we're going to use our keyboards to cut and paste them onto their own layers. So I'm going to take the word Dagobah. I'll do Control X to cut. I'm going to go to that layer and press Control F to paste it back in place. Okay. Then I'm going to take my Grogu's text, which is just right here, cut it, go up to the next layer and Control F to paste that in front as well. We'll take my mascot, which you can see is already grouped, Control X to cut it, and Control F to paste it right back in front. And now you can see that each of my items is on its own layer. If you want to test to make sure that you got it right, just turn these eye layers off and turn them on one by one. You can see that they're in the right order. So we got circle, Dagobah, Grogu's, and mascot. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this as an AI file, an Adobe Illustrator file. And then we're going to switch now over into After Effects. In that program, we want to import our Illustrator project and bring it in with all those layers that we just made separated out. So we'll go File, Import, File. And I've got it saved right here in my downloads bin. So I'm going to select that Illustrator file and I want to bring it in. This is super important. I want to bring it in as a composition. Okay. So that all of those layers that I made come in separately. Footage is when you're bringing in like video footage, like we did on the Inside the Helmet project. So for an Illustrator file, we're going to use composition. Now, when I bring that in, you'll see it comes in as my sports logo. And if I double click this, it opens up with all of my layers as Illustrator files ready to go. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to have happen. All right, so now let's give this thing some movement. I'm going to start with the circle. Let's take this circle here. We're going to open up this layer and we're going to look at its scale. Okay. I'm going to have this circle like start off really, really small and then expand out to make a circle shape. So at the beginning of my timeline, I'm going to click the stopwatch for scale and I'm going to turn its scale down to 0. Okay. So it's almost disappeared now. It's so small we can't see it. Okay. By 1 second, if I move my playhead forward to 1 second, I'm going to have this scale expand up. Let's have it go to a little over 100%, maybe like 110. Okay, so it's going to get really big first, and then I'm going to have it shrink back down. Then I'll go forward just a tiny bit, and I'll have this scale back down to 100%. So let's play this back and see how it looks. At the beginning, there's nothing. It's going to go and then kind of put itself into place. Now you can speed this up just by moving these keyframes closer together. And now the whole thing will happen a whole lot faster. It'll go and shrink back into place. Okay. All right. So that's pretty good for the circle. Let's close that layer. And by 1 second on my timeline, the circle is now at its full size. So let's keyframe the next part. Let's have the word Dagobah. What should we have it do? We'll have it drop in from the top. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to click the position keyframe, and I'm going to move this guy so that at the beginning of, or at 1 second of my timeline, he is off the screen. So I'm just moving it up till it's up here. And then by 1.5 seconds, it's going to drop in and place itself right there on top of the circle. Okay, let's see how it looks. We run it back. Circle grows. Dagobah drops in. Perfect. Okay, that one looks good. I'm going to go ahead and close it up. Now let's have this Grogu text fly in. Okay, so I'm going to take this one, open it up, and I'm going to do a keyframe here for position. And let's say that at this point in time, it's off the screen over here, maybe on the right, by 2.5 seconds. It has moved over. And I'm going to have it actually go past the circle a little bit and then bring it back and settle right in the middle. Okay, that extra little scoot just gives it some fun movement. It's going to make this look a little bit more active. The other thing I want to do for this layer, since it's moving so fast, is I'm going to turn on the motion blur right here. So I'm going to check this little box here to give it some motion blur. Let's see how it looks. Perfect. Okay. Let's turn on some motion blur for Dagobah too, and we'll close this one up. All right, so the last thing that I need to have happen is Grogu to appear, and we can decide how you want this to do. You could have him grow just like we did the circle. You could have him fall in from the top or fly in from the side. Just to make this a little bit different, I think I'm going to have him rotate and scale at the same time. So my text is on screen by about 3 seconds. What I'm going to do is do 2 movements at once here. I'm going to do scale and rotation. So I'm clicking both those stopwatches. At the beginning, I'm going to have the scale down to 0. Okay, so he's going to disappear. By about 4 seconds, I want the scale to come up to 100%. But I also want to have him rotate a bunch of times. So I'm going to just grab this rotation handle and pull on it and have him settle right here. I'll go forward just a tiny bit, and I'll have him kind of tilt back this way. Okay, let's put some motion blur on that layer, and let's test the whole thing together. Zing. Perfect. Okay, so all together, I've got a really cool animated logo now, and the whole thing only takes place about 5 seconds. By 5 seconds, it's ready to show. Okay. So I don't need all this extra time. I'm going to grab this little blue handle right here, pull it back to 5 seconds, and then I'll right click it and trim my whole project down to only be 5 seconds. Okay. So you can see now it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's done. Okay. The only other thing I see that I might want to change here is that the background is all black because I didn't have a background in my Illustrator file. So you can fill that with a color just by going to Layer, New, Solid. Pick whatever color you want. I think I'll pick like a brown color here to kind of go with Dagobah. And I'm going to move that solid color layer all the way down to the bottom and put it underneath my logo. Okay, let's give it one last test before we save it. Hit play. Okay, it's looking really good. I'm just going to put motion blur on that last layer that was missing. All right, so now that we've got the animation done, let's go ahead and export this as a short video that we can loop over and over again. Okay, we're going to go up to File, Export, Add to Render Queue. And when this pops up, you'll see some settings here that you're going to change. Okay, the best settings can stay exactly as it is. You want this one to say H264. And then right here where it says output, this is where you're going to tell it where to save. So click on the not yet specified, point it towards your desktop, And then if it's already called a sports logo, you can just add the word animated to the back. So it'll be your name, sports logo animated. Hit save. And then finally press this render button to render out your animation. It should go really quick because there's not a lot to it. When we're all done on our desktop now, we will have a little animated GIF that we can play back, and you guys will see all of that animation. All right. So have some fun with this one today, and we'll be around to help you out as you go.